The list module has been updated to include 3 different layouts that you can select from. When you insert your list, you can now select from one of the 3 following layouts: the table layout, the A to Z index, or the directory. This is an example of the table layout. You can see it's set up like a table with the different columns in the top row. If I scroll to the bottom, you will see that to advance to the next page, I simply click on the corresponding number. This is an example of the A to Z layout. The A to Z layout allows you to select one field to show, and it also has the alphabet listed at the very top for easy and quick navigation. Simply click on the letter, and they are brought to that section. You can also type in the filter field, and you are brought up the results below. Lastly is the directory layout, which is a combination of the table and the A to Z layout. It displays like the table layout, whereas it has the columns at the top, but then it also has the alphabet A to Z at the very top of the table. You can then also click in the filter link here, begin to type in a person's name. When you click on filter, it will show just those entries. Now let's walk through adding the list module to your CMS site. So what you'll want to do is log into your CMS administrator, and then from the left-hand side, click on Manage Modules. From here, you will want to click on the button that says New Module, and then from this drop-down, select Lists. I'd advise you to give this an alias title so that you have a better understanding of what the list is down the road. We'll call this one Staff. When done, click on Submit. If you're going to be creating a list from scratch, you are first going to want to click on the Manage Columns button here. From here, you are going to want to click on the button that says Add Column. This is going to be adding the columns at the very top of your list. So for this example, I'm going to name a column First Name. Underneath column type, I'm going to select that it is text. Under column format, I'm going to select plain text. And then I do not want it to display as a filter, and I do want to display it on list. If I wanted to hide this column, I could uncheck this box here. Now that I'm done, I'm going to click on Save, and that column is added. Now that I've created some of the columns, I'm going to go back to the list and begin to put in some of the entries. So I'm going to click on the Back to List button, and now I'm going to click on the button that says Add New Record. I'm now going to add in a few individuals here. And you see if I hit Save, it adds in that entry. I could then go to Add New Record. I can type in another person's name. And if I click this button that says Save and Add Another Record, I'm instantly brought to another page here. I'm going to add in a few more entries here. You can see now I have my list begun, and I have 4 different entries in there right now. Now another thing you can do is if you have your data already in a spreadsheet, so for example, this particular spreadsheet here, you could also import this data into your list. Let me show you how to do that. First, I'm going to click on the button that says Import Data, and then from here, it'll ask me to import the file. I'm going to click on the button that says Choose File, and then I will select this spreadsheet here that's called IM Contact List. I'm going to say Open, and once that's uploaded, I'm going to say Continue. From here, you can see that it begins to match the row to the column. So for example, the column that we created called Last Name, it is trying to match up to these rows here. So row 1, you can see has just the names. So last name, first name, state. I'm going to check this box that says Skip. Now I can look here and I can tell that these in fact are the last names. The second column here is for first name, and I can see those are in fact the first names as well. If for whatever reason they are mixed up, you can click on this drop down here and you can select the other option that it's supposed to be. You could also click on Ignore, or you can add a new column. So for this list, it looks like we're all set. The last name is lining up with the last name, first name with the first name, and the state with the state. Now I'm going to click Import. And now you will see that all of those names have been successfully imported. One thing to note if you are going to use the import data function is that the data must be in an XLS, an XLSX, or a CSV file. Now that we've created the list, let's add this module to one of our CMS pages. I'm going to click on Content on the left-hand side, find the page that I wish to edit and add this module to, and then when I get to this page, on the right-hand side, I'm going to scroll down and find the icon that looks like this and says Modules. From here, I'm going to scroll down and find the List section and find the list that we created called Staff. Now that it's added to the page, I'm going to click on it and expand it across the 3 columns. You don't have to do that. This is just a matter of preference. Once done, I'm going to click on Publish. Now let's take a look at what that list looks like. So here's the page I just added it to. I'm going to click on the magnifying glass here for a preview, and it opens up, and there's our module right there. Now this is using the table layout. Let's say that I want to use the directory layout for this particular list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my CMS, and I'm going to click on the Edit button where this page is located. From here, I'm going to double click on the staff list that we've created, and I'm going to change the layout here from table down to directory. Once that's done, click Save Changes, and then click Publish. So now let's go take a look at the changes that we just made. So I'm back at the CMS, and I'm on the Content link on the left-hand side. From here, I'm going to click on the preview next to the page that I just changed. You will see that this page opened up, and it is in fact using the directory layout. However, let's say I take a look at this link and I decide that I want to change how it's sorted, because currently it's sorted by the first name. Let's say I want to sort this by the last name. Let me show you how to make that change. So let's go back to our CMS, and let's go back to the list that we've been working on called Staff. And then from here, I'm going to click on the button that says List Settings. Here is where you can change how the list is laid out. So, for example, the default sort column right now is not selected. So let's change this to say Last Name. Then you can choose which direction you want it to be sorted by, ascending or descending. So we're going to select Ascending here. Now you can also change some of the layout settings on the A to Z index, including the display column for what shows up. You can choose any of the fields or columns that you have selected. So now click on Save. And now let's go back and let's take a look at the page and see if the sorting has changed. So I'm going to click on Preview next to my site. And now you will see that the module is now sorting by last name, with A being the first letter. So one of the things that you can do with the list module now is that you can create a chart based off of a data set that you have in there. And so you can see on this page here, I've created a chart based off of a percentage of students, the year, and then it displays the chart as such. So let me walk you through and show you how to create something like this for your page on the CMS. So the first thing you're going to want to do to create a chart is you're going to want to have a good data set. So for this example, you can see that I have a spreadsheet open, and with this spreadsheet I have a row at the top for a header, which has a list of all the different colleges, and then on the left-hand side here I have a column for the year. So these are going to serve as my axis. So this is going to serve as the y-axis, and this is going to serve as the x-axis. So now that I have a list that I'm going to go from, we can now import this into the CMS. I will mention that you don't have to have a spreadsheet in order to create a chart in the CMS. I will show you later in the video how to create a chart based off of data that you just manually enter. But in my experience, I have found that it's easier to create a chart based off of an existing data set like you see here in the spreadsheet. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the module. So I'm going to go to Manage Modules on the left. I'm going to click on New Module. Then I'm going to choose List from here. And then I will give this a title. So now if I scroll down, you can see I have the CMS 201 chart here on the left-hand side. And so if I click on that, you can see we just have an empty page here for the module that we just created. So the next step would be to import the data into the CMS. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on this button that says Import Data, and I'm brought to this page. I'm going to click on the button that says Choose File, and I'm going to select the spreadsheet that we have created. Click on Open, and then you'll see that it has the name of the file listed right here. This box here will be if you have a header row in the spreadsheet. So with this particular spreadsheet, we do have a header row, so I'm going to click Yes. Then I'm going to click on Continue. So then we're brought to this page, and this is the import page for our data. So let's take a look at this first box here. So with this first box, you can see that it has row 1 and it has a checkbox for skip. This is because on the previous page, we told the import feature that there was a header row. So row 1 is going to be the headers that we saw across the spreadsheet. Then if we jump down to row 2 and row 3, you can see that it has a date. So over here on the left-hand side, it asks you to enter a name for column 1. It will automatically put whatever the header row is into this box. So for this example, the row 1, it has year, and now we see year over here. So for the column type, you'll see right now it's selected for text. I'm going to keep it text. Even though it shows as a year, one of the other options that you have in here is a date. If you're going to select date, the date must be the month, the day, and the year. So for our example, it's just the year, so therefore I'm going to keep it just as text. For our second column here, you can see that it has, for the name, it's abbreviated College of Community and Public Serve. So we may want to change the name of this. And then if we look over here on the right, you can see that row 2 and row 3 are both numbers. So over here for enter name for column 2, it automatically imported this name, but we can change that so that it's more appropriate. Then for the type, I'm going to change it from text to number. And that's because these are the two numbers over here in the row. So now I'm going to work through the rest of the page and make sure that all of the columns and the rows match. All right, so now I have all of my data all set and lined up for the appropriate type and the name as to how I want it imported. So with that all set, I'm now going to click on the button that says Import. And now you will see that all of that data has been brought into the CMS. So now that we have the data imported, let's begin to create our chart. So I'm going to click on the button up here that says Charts. From this page, I'm now going to click on Add New Chart. This page then lets us create the chart, and so it's going to be what's on the chart, how it's sorted, how the data is organized, etc. So the first thing we need to do is we need to give the chart a title. So I'm just going to create a generic title and call it College Numbers. Then from chart type, you can choose what type of chart you want it to display. So this is not permanent. You could come in here and you can change this at any time. So for this example, I'm just going to choose bar. And then the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to choose what you want on the x-axis, the bottom line. So for our example, I am going to say that we want the year on the bottom line. You can create a label if you want to. You don't have to, but for our example, I'll say year. And now we have to choose how we want the x-axis sorted. So we're going to choose year for how we want it sorted. So by choosing this, we are forcing that the columns be sorted by the year as well as displaying the year. So then the x-axis sort direction, you can choose if you want descending or ascending. And then if you want, you can choose a label for the y-axis, the horizontal axis. And so for this one, let's just put down the word colleges. Then you must choose a theme. And so for this example, we're going to use Colorblind Safe. So now that we've created how the chart is going to look and how it's going to sort, now we actually need to put the data into the chart. And that's what this button here does for Add New Series. So I'm going to click on this button here, and then it brings up this box or these sets of options here. So the first one here is the title. The second one is the column, and then you can delete it. So what I like to do is I like to come over here and choose the column. So then this is going to be all of the different columns that we had in our spreadsheet originally. So let's just say for the first one, we say College of Community and Public Service. And then you can see up here, it starts to begin to create the graph. Over here on the title, you could also label it. So for this one, you can see we've got the color here, but we don't have any text next to it. So nobody knows what it is. So for the title, I may want to type in the name of the column. So now that that's typed in there, that is our first data set. So now I'm going to click on the button again to say Add New Series. And then I'm going to repeat the whole process again. So I'm going to choose College of Education, and now you can see that it begins to fill in the chart a little bit more. And then I'm going to give it a title again. I'm going to click on Add New Series and do the exact same thing. So you can see I'm now going to begin to fill in the data series for our chart. So now you can see we have the series all ready to go, and you don't have to match the name exactly for the title and the column. So for example, you can see here for the Kirchhoff College of Nursing, I was able to put College of Nursing, College of Education, College of Business, etc. So you don't have to match the column name specifically. You can choose your own title and type that in. So now that that's all set, I'm going to click on Save. And now you can see the chart has been created successfully, and there's our first chart that we've created called College Numbers. All right, so now that we've created the data, we've created the chart, now the last thing we need to do is we need to add the chart to a page. So what I'm going to do from this screen is I'm going to click on Content on the left-hand side, and I'm going to find the page that I wish to add this to and click the Edit button. And then once this page loads, now I need to decide where I want to place the chart. So I've decided that I want to place it in this top row right here. I'm going to click on the button down here in the bottom right for Module, and then I'm going to scroll down and find the list chart that we've created, so CMS 201 chart, and I'm going to add it in there. And then like other things with the CMS, I can now adjust the size, so I'm going to click on the side here and drag that over. So now that we've added the chart to our page, the next thing we need to do is we need to tell this chart that it actually is a chart. So if I click on the blue Edit button, I'm then brought to this page. From here, I'm going to click on the drop down for Table. So you'll remember that we're using the List module to create this chart, and the List module has several different views and uses that you can use it for. So for our example here, I'm going to change this from Table down to Chart. Once I've done that, the next drop down appears where I have to select a chart. And if I click in this box, you'll see there's the chart that we've created called College Numbers. So that means you can have multiple charts on the CMS. You will then choose which one you want to use from this option right here. Now that we've done that, I'm going to click on Save Changes. And now let's take a look and see what this is going to look like when we scroll down and click on the Preview Draft button. And so there it is. There's the chart that we've just created. So you can see over here on the left, we've got colleges for the y-axis. And then over here at the bottom, we've got year for the x-axis. And then we've got a label for each one of the different colleges down here in the legend. So you may remember earlier in the video, we talked about and we created this chart as a bar graph, but we can easily change this to something else if we want to. So I'm going to go back to our page here, and I'm going to click on Publish to save it. So now that that page is saved, if I scroll down to on the left-hand side and choose the list that we were working with, the CMS 201 chart, here's all of our data. I could come over here to Charts, and if I click on this, here is the chart that we've created. I'm going to click on Edit. And now here's the chart type for bar. I can easily change this to something else, and you can see that it will create a preview for you over here. So you can choose any one of these types of graphs, and then it will appear on your page as such. So let's say I changed this from a bar graph to a line graph. Now that I've done that, I'm going to click on Save. Okay, so now that we've changed what type of chart it is from a bar graph to a line graph, let's take a look and see how this is going to look on our page. So I'm going to click on Content on the left-hand side, and then this is the page that we've been working on. I'm simply going to click on the Preview button, and let's take a look at the page, and there it is. So now you can see we have the different type of graph for the chart that we had. So just as a reminder, if you want to change what type of graph you have, you change that from the list module itself over here on the left-hand side. You click on the list, then you click on the chart button, and then you choose which chart you want to change by clicking the edit button and choosing which type of chart you want it to be.